for all of us, putting life as in the context of a game, is really, to me, just always really made sense. And life in reality, it's a game that we all are playing, whether you want to play or not, right? Like if you wake up every day, you are playing the game of life. You're in it. And if you're in the game, why not play to win, right? Like why not wake up, strap up, put your helmet on and lock in and say, you know what, I'm in this game, whether I like it or not. And I'm making a decision today, right now, that I'm going to start practicing, putting in the work, doing the things necessary so I can win the game.
All right, folks, I'm super excited to be here with a longtime friend, and even though he's younger than me, a great mentor and influence in my life, Israel Idonije, former NFL athlete, just one of the most beloved Chicago Bears of our time, and serial entrepreneur. He didn't use the word serial, but I did. And so in about the last 10 years or so of getting to know Izzy, just so many success stories, so many adventures in business, in philanthropy, in being an author. And so Izzy, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Manny, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege, and just thanks for allowing me to be a part of all the incredible things that you're doing. And man, so it's great spending time with a brother. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. And so, this podcast we just launched in the middle of this chaos, is something that has received a lot of positive feedback and energy and enthusiasm, with the focus really being vision, hustle, grit, and gratitude. And as you know, that is, from my perspective, four of the simple ingredients that are very common in the folks that we know that have been just wildly successful in sports, business, and life. And let's start with vision, because I love when I get to listen to you tell your story of growing up in Canada. Share a little bit about your childhood and where this huge vision for life came from.
Well, I think, you're spot on. Vision to me in anything, throughout my 11 years in the NFL, the best coaches, the best leadership that I was fortunate to be a part of, the best teams all had very clear vision. They all had shared vision, right? If you can really articulate what your vision is, see it, taste it, touch it, and then yourself internally fully bought in, fully on board, the people around you fully bought in, fully on board. Like that's how you win championships. That's how you win anything in life. And just as a part of my upbringing, that was just always important. We and I would really be because of my parents. So when I was a child, I wrote my parents got me this Bible, and we wrote in it basically what we wanted to do, where we wanted to be. So as a child, I think I was 12 or 13, my vision was, one, my goal was to play for the Chicago Bulls. That was like my first kind of focus of where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a veterinarian as like my backup plan. They made us like write down what we would be otherwise. And I wanted to be a psychologist. Those were kind of my three kind of, these are the things I'm going to do with my life, from a 12-year-old boy's mind. Like I'm going to play for the Bulls. I'm going to work with dogs. I love dogs. And I wanted to be, work with kids. And then my final thing was, by the time my goal was, and I don't know why I picked 25, by the time I turned 25 years old, I would have made my first $1 million. And at 12, I was very clear on like, these are the things that I was going to do and achieve. And it all starts with just setting the vision. And I always say, I don't care how big the vision is. I don't care how large or how unattainable the mountain seems to climb. Set that mountain, right? Set that vision, set that goal, and then scale back. And then it's all about just putting in the work. And over the years to come, I put in the work, and yeah, the vision would tweak and they would adjust and they would change, and opportunities, doors would open, doors would close. But that ultimate goal, I continue to work and grind towards that. And it's interesting, basketball was my favorite sport. That was my love as a child. And my attending Vincent Massey High School, my coach when I was in grade 12 was also my boss at the YMCA, where I taught youth leadership programs. He came to me and said, "Hey, Izzy, come play football for for our team. I said, football, I don't like football. What a lot of people don't know is I went out to play football in grade 9. And I went out to one practice and I left. I was like, this game is not for me, right? So fast forward to grade 12, I loved Coach Grindy, and he convinced me to come play football with the lure of at least you're going to be even in better shape for basketball when the season starts. So I went out and I played and, had a great year. He then called my mother and said, Mrs. Idonije, your son's going to be a great football player. And she called me and said, Coach Grindy got you this opportunity to go try out for Team Manitoba, the provincial team, which is like the state team, right? And I said, well, I don't want to play football, so I'm not going to this practice. And she said, well, Coach Grindy thought enough about your skill, your gift, your ability to get you this opportunity. So whether you like it or not, we're going to this practice. We drove 2.5 hours from Brandon to Winnipeg. I was crying in the car. I did not want to play. I did not want to play football. But when I got there, they gave me my pads, my helmet, and I went out. I'm very competitive, and I went to compete. And guess what? I made the team, right? So thankful for, again, just the people in your lives that sometimes see the gift in you when you don't see it in yourself. They see the talent in you when you don't necessarily see it, and they see a door opening, and they got to sometimes push you through it. That was my situation. Coach Grindy and my mother, they pushed me through that door. I went through it, made the team. And at that same practice was the head coach of the University of Manitoba, who said, young man, we want you to come play for our university. And I went to the University of Manitoba and on a tiny little scholarship. And I had an opportunity in balance to actually go play basketball for the Bobcats, Brandon University. And I talked to my family. We waited, we've been playing basketball our whole lives. We've been playing football for literally just one season. And Manitoba wanted us, University of North Dakota wanted us to come out there. So we said, let's try this football thing. We went out and tried. And my football career was full of challenges and obstacles, right? It was not easy, but I just continued to stay focused on the next step and just control what I could. When I look back there, my first year I had surgery, I didn't play. My second year, I played in 1 game. My third year, I played in 4 games. I almost quit. And my coach just said, well, one of my coaches, our receiver coach, Bobby Dice, was like, hang in there, don't quit. I had teammates that uplifted me at what was like, I'm basically just a practice dummy. 3 years in university and I played only in 4 games. I got to go play something else. I went out to play for the basketball team, and the coach said that he did not want a 2-sport athlete. So I had to pick football or basketball. And fortunately, my mother said, you're not going to quit football. We're not quitters in our family. So we stayed with the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think of all the sort of micro nuggets and lessons that are in there. I love how a parent, just their love, their compassion, their empathy can just be just the right thing we need to continue, pursuing a vision of grandeur that we have at a very young age. And I've always really enjoyed when you reference the impact, the enormous impact. I mean, think about that. Had you just overpowered your mom in that conversation, how different your life would be today, and just what an enormous blessing that was.
Yeah, incredible. And just again, that statement that you just made, it can't be, stated enough. It's true. Because I'm sure I did not make it easy at that age, but she was resolute and she told me, she said, I remember she said, look around, guess what? If you don't make the team, guess what? You're going to come right back here, right? If you walk through that door and nothing happens, you just walk right back into this house right here. But if you walk through that door and, God has something planned for you, or that something just takes you to that next level, or something, a level of growth happens in your life that transforms your life, you will be happy that you went through it. And I'm thankful for her wisdom in that life lesson there.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, because that decision, that 2.5-hour car ride, where mind you, again, I love it that you always say I was crying.
Yeah.
I think of like the books you've written, the children books you've written, and I want to get to that later, but how much that really talks to a child being okay with their emotions and their feelings and communicating what they're thinking and feeling. And I think that's a whole other powerful thing. I love that you acknowledge that, you embrace that, and you recall that so vividly, that was a real like painful moment in your life. And yet 11-year NFL career, right?
Yeah, 11 years. I mean, truly, yeah, there's so many people to thank, but that was a pivotal moment in the journey to getting to where I am today, without a question.
I'm going to pivot just really quick because I don't want to lose the focus I have on the book. Tell everybody about what inspired you to become an author and the first book you wrote and why folks should own it.
Yeah, so the first book I wrote is a story called The Protectors, and it's the origin story of athletes in the world that they live in. Their ability in sport in the world today is actually a byproduct of this greater gift that they were given, that is latent, hidden in their genes, in their DNA. Throughout the story, one of the ageless ones, Gaelic, comes to Earth. He realizes that these athletes are given with this, are he gives this gift to athletes across the world in order to help them save humanity from this dark force that's looking to subjugate the human race through politics, media, and religion, the dissenters in the story. And ultimately, the story, it really started in 2007. It might have been. Training camp is like the same thing. It's Groundhog's Day. Practice, eat,
Yeah.
practice, meetings, practice, meetings, practice. So this year in particular, I decided, I'm gonna come out of training camp having created something, and I wanted to tell a story. So I just did some work around creating a narrative, and I wanted to tell the origin story of the gift of sport, that ability of speed, power, cognitive like acuity, like all those things. Like, where does it come from? And then growing up reading comics, my parents are very academic. My father specifically, they made us read every day. We had to play an instrument every day. We had just to we were only allowed to watch 1 hour of television daily, right? So I grew up reading comic books as my hour of reading, because I did not love reading. Comics to me are just such a great, for all the kids out there who don't necessarily love reading and aren't great readers. I think it's a real opportunity to help with reading and reading comprehension, and that was kind of what it was for me. And my sister was on the other side of the spectrum. She read like Alex Haley's Roots in like a blink of an eye. She was done. It's like she could just read and just absorb visually all day, just words. And some people can't do that. Some people, they learn by reading something and then they do it, and then they get there's so many different ways, and you got to see it. And that was me. So I wanted the Protectors to be in comic form, to really be a part of that educational platform to help bring on new readers, younger readers. And that's what we did. We launched the product. It was the book. It was amazing. And then along with the way, my sister had 3 little kids. So the Protectors was a little too old for them. It's more in alignment with like the Avengers or the X-Men. So I created a property called the Dream Kids Adventures, which is about these 6 best friends that go to Ryerson Elementary School, which is a school where I taught, an actual school. I ran after school programs there for 4 years. And it's the first book. I thought to myself, what would I want to teach these young beautiful beings that my sister has now brought into the world? And I was like, I wanted to teach them one of the most valuable lessons that we can teach anyone, and that's just like lead with love first. And that love has to be internal, right? Loving yourself. So I wrote I Love Me as my first kids book. I Love Me, a special kid with lots of gifts for all the world to see. From head to toe, my light will glow bright and beautifully. And it just goes throughout loving yourself. I love my eyes. I love, my hands, my feet, my knees. And just really, I wrote it originally as a poem, and we just converted it into the book. I found this great artist in Peru who brought the characters to life exactly how I envisioned. And that's actually been the Dream Kids books has been phenomenal. It's just done really well. And if you have a young reader, if you're looking to educate your young kids, it's a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and so I think in my mind, the way I've seen that side of you come out as an author to really inspire young men and women with just basic fundamental skill sets, mindset, having a big vision and putting in the hard work. I mean, I've really enjoyed seeing that. And obviously my children, Ava and Atlas, who are avid readers, and we're blessed that they've chosen to be avid readers, have thoroughly enjoyed those books as our relationship has evolved. That's just one of like a dozen dimensions we can go into today. When I think of this like second, basic principle of hustle and putting in the work, it was years ago when I heard you on main stage at Fun Conference in Chicago talk about micro wins. Share that concept with folks. And I love it when you use the analogy of hacking away at the old oak tree. Can you talk about that a little bit to really tell the story of your NFL career? Because I think that really does a great job of sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for all of us, putting life as in the context of a game, is really, to me, just always really made sense. And life in reality, it's a game that we all are playing, whether you want to play or not, right? Like if you wake up every day, you are playing the game of life. You're in it. And if you're in the game, why not play to win? Why not wake up, strap up, put your helmet on and lock in and say, you know what, I'm in this game, whether I like it or not. And I'm making a decision today, right now, that I'm going to start practicing, putting in the work, doing the things necessary so I can win the game. And the beauty about life is that in this game, you decide what the win is, right? For me, it was like, I want to make $1 million at 13. Like if you decide that's your win, you wake up and then you got to put in the work and you got to go dominate the game to get there. If you decide, you know what, I just want to work a great 9 to 5. I want to have a beautiful family. I want to live here and do this. And like you decide what that win is for you in this journey. That's what I love so much. Everybody, every single one of us unequivocally can achieve your win. You can achieve that thing in your life that you want to achieve. And it starts with setting the big vision. And then I think a critical component of that is then scaling the vision back to just micro wins, win by win, step by step, and finding the victories, finding the wins within the journey. You talk throughout my career, my goal, of course, obviously was to start in the NFL. I wanted to be a starter. I did not start in the NFL till towards the end of my career, right? I was special teams. I came in on just pass rush downs, nickel package. I did everything necessary and everything that they asked me until I got the real opportunity that I wanted, so late in my career, right? Almost, it was my 8th year when I really got my full-time starting job as a full-time starter. Yeah, I got spot starts, but when I was like, hey, I'm the starter on this defense, I didn't get that till late in my career. Thankfully, I was able to create value and create little wins along the way that had value. And what that looks like is, my first year, my second year, I make the 53-man roster, right? First year was in the practice squad. And it came down to myself and Michael Haynes, who was a first-round draft pick from Penn State. And during the preseason, he started a game. I sat the bench, and he had to play defense and special teams. The next week, he sat. I played defense and special teams. And they were very candid. They said, whoever's better, just overall, at bringing value to the defense and the special teams is who's going to make this team. And Coach Tobe told me, like, hey, you got to play specials if you're going to make this roster. And I just went in and I gave everything I had. I made a massive tackle in Detroit. Drummond was their kick returner, one-on-one, and he's a monster. I just took a shot. I threw it from the hip, and I hit him, and I tackled, I think, inside the 20 on kickoff, on their kickoff return. And that single play was the reason why they ended up cutting Mike and I made the team, right? And throughout my career, again, wow. I led the NFL 3 years in blocking kicks.
Yes.
So I made the decision that, all right, this is not this is not where I want to be. I don't want to be playing special teams at, 280 pounds, 6'6", but I'm going to put a new goal in front of me. I'm going to dominate in special teams. And if I can show up and make plays and just make every Sunday, make one big play. And like, that was, I set a new goal and new wins, and I achieved that. And that then said, hey, we got to get this guy some time in the defense. Let's bring him in on third downs. And, I got in there, and then again, I got to make a play. I got to create value. And as you continue to go, the doors open, opportunities come, and you got to be ready, right? Sometimes in our lives, the doors open, and guess what? People aren't ready, right? So I was, thankfully, every time that door opened up, I was able to execute and deliver, and which led to more opportunities which ultimately the real one was being able to be in the league for 11 years and play as long as I did, and experience so many great relationships. And then you take that mindset and that mentality into everything in life.
Yeah. And you just talked about being ready, and it wasn't but a week ago, I was with our dear friend, Ryan Mundy, and he said, you just got to be ready when it's your turn.
Yeah.
Talk to our listeners about how you've been so effective at controlling your surroundings and the people in your life, and how that's had an influence and an impact on your consistent and sustainable success, controlling your surroundings and the people that you give attention to.
I mean, your network and the people around you are everything, right? I often say that there are three types of people in this world, right? People that drain your energy, people that are neutral, they don't bring any value, they don't draw any value, and then there's people that fuel you, right? And if you can surround yourself with, obviously you'll have people that need your energy in your life, but you want to keep that limited. The people that drain, that need you and drain you, keep that limited, right? To, a fifth of the network. Everything else should be people that like you fuel and they fuel you, right? There's a mutual energy. Like you're just doing this, you're sharpening each other, you're elevating each other, right? So important. If you're surrounded with people that, 4/5 of the people around you drain you, you're fighting every day. You're drained every day. You're working every day. It's a grind. When you're around people that energize you and elevate you and inspire you, like you wake up and like, oh my God, what Manny just is doing is so exciting to me. I'm so happy for him, excited for him. And I see what he did there, his strategy. And I'm going to apply some of those lessons that I learned through watching my friend into what I'm doing. And I'm going to push harder. I'm going to grind harder. I see how hard he's working. And it energizes you having the right network around you, because the work is hard, right?
Yes.
Winning is hard. Like achieving anything is a lot of work. I think that's what most entrepreneurs don't understand. It's like, you think you're going to start this company and you're going to raise all this money and it's going to be roses and celebrations and champagne toast. No, it is a grind. It is a serious grind, and you gotta work 10 times harder than you did before, right? When you weren't in ownership, or when it wasn't your vision, because no one cares about it more than you do. And having the right people around you are so important to that, because there are times where you as being human, that we fatigue, we get tired, right?
Yes.
And when you have people around you that energize you, that's how you make it through the valleys, right? And I've been there. I've been in those times where it's just like, I'm ready to like turn this thing in. I'm done. And you find that one voice, that one person, like, don't quit. Hang in there. I don't want to play football. Don't quit. I can't even do this manufacturing business anymore. We're not selling anything. Like, don't quit. Hang in there. And then the next thing around the corner is your victory. Around the corner is your win. And just, you look back, imagine if I would have quit when I was on empty, when I was done. So that's why it's so important just to be really diligent. Be slow to let people into the inner circle. Take your time, right? Like, there's no rush to let somebody in. Get to know somebody, get to know who they truly are, yeah, in the good times, but really get to know who they truly are under pressure, right? That somebody under pressure is who they really are, right? And that's
Yes.
because the good
Yes.
times, that's easy. That's the easy part, right? It's easy for us. But when I'm under pressure, and when we're under pressure together, and you look at me for like, Izzy, what are we gonna do? And I break down and I'm all over the place. Like, it's like, whoa, I don't know if we're gonna make it, right? But when I look at you and I'm like, hey, we can do this, and you look at me and you say we can do this, and we keep digging and we fight ourselves out of that. Like, those are the people you want in your corner, right? And so it's important just to take your time to get to know the people that you're going to truly take through the entire journey of life for you. I'm not just talking about, oh, this is an acquaintance, but the people who are going to be in that inner circle that, like, for the rest of our lives, like, we're going to be connected in some capacity. We're going to fight together in some, even if it's just like, hey, a phone call, and we're
Yes.
going to talk through something, right? Like, make sure those people are the right kind of people, and that they, regardless of the situation, they lift you, they elevate you, and they have your back. So critical, just to being able to make it through the challenge that we all face. This journey, right? It's hard, right? And it's hard. It's hard for your hard is different than mine, right? But I promise you, it's no less hard, right? It's like
Yeah.
the challenges you face are the hardest challenges for many, right? And I cannot diminish, I can't even necessarily try to quantify or understand those challenges because they're your own. The challenges I'm facing in my life are the hardest challenges for me because, like, they're in my focus every day, and I'm waking up and I'm swinging the axe trying to dominate those things. So having people that, regardless, they're just there to support you through the valleys is so important. And I forgot, I didn't even touch on the axe piece, but the network is so important. I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, no, and it's great, and it makes me think about just this enormous level of discipline from my viewpoint, as I've looked at you from your childhood on, and you referenced it earlier when you were talking about your father and the sort of structure that he had and the framework that he created for you and your siblings to be successful in life beyond your childhood home and beyond, their immediate impact and influence. Talk to me about your vision and when you decided, hey, I'm going to start making some decisions for my life after sports. And some of that's going to be that I'm going to own a business. And eventually
Yeah.
I want to start owning businesses and helping businesses be successful. And talk to us about the first business.
Yeah. So for me, it kind of really started with philanthropy. Really, it's like because I grew up in the church. My parents are missionaries. They committed their lives to giving, right? So I always thought, now being in the NFL, it was important for me to use my platform to give. And I quickly realized that, and it kind of all happened, simultaneously. But I used to do an all-star football camp here in the city. I still do it. It'll be our 15th year doing this camp, free to about 250 kids, football, cheerleading, and food. Back then, we had done the camp, and leaving the camp, one of my sponsors was giving us a ride back after the long day. We'd all go eat with all the volunteers. And one of the former Bulls, a former Bull, called her and was just like distraught. I need money. I'm broke. I have nothing. Please, I'll sign as many autographs as you need if you can just pay me whatever you can pay me. And I was just a fly on the wall for that conversation, but it was it etched a very valuable lesson in my mind, in that, you've got to be serious about handling your business, like right now today, because when it's over, it's over. And when she hung up on that call, she looked at me and said, listen, as much as we love you, when you retire, there's going to be a new number 71, and that number 71 he's the guy that we're going to give our sponsorship dollars. We're going to go to his camp. We're going to bring him out for appearances and autographs. So make sure you're ready for life after football. Make sure you're prepared for life after football before you hang up your cleats. So that was a really poignant moment. And then in addition to that, I realized that, if you really want to give and make an impact in the world, like you've got to have sustainable, you have to have an engine behind it, right? Like these legacy givers, a majority of them have built great for-profit businesses and have established for-profit, systems. And now they say, hey, now I'm going to give, and I'm going to change the world this way. I'm going to set up this school. Yep. I'm going to set and I just realized, like, listen, I got to figure out what am I going to do post-career? And secondly, what's my engine going to look like, right? Like, and at the time, I was so green. I mean, I didn't go to school for business or anything like that. So just making up this infrastructure for what I was going to do. So we invested in a lot of crazy things. We had a lot of failures, but we were fortunate in all of that craziness to have one success. We bought a manufacturing business that is now called Blessed. I bought this one machine. It's a thermoform, plastic fill seal machine. And I remember my financial advisor being like, are you nuts? Do you know anything about thermogenics? Do you know anything about plastics, PET, PLA, PVC, anything about pasteurizing juice, anything about like any of this? No, I don't know anything about that. He's like, listen, we could take that money and we could invest in something that'll do way better than you trying to start up a business in the middle of your season. You should focus on football. But I was just convicted that I could take this business and we could do something with this. So we bought that business, and it was a struggle. For my whole first year, I did not sell a single communion cup. We sold no product. And I almost folded the business, right? I was literally on the edge of saying, I'm done with this business. Let me just focus on football. And if I would have done that, my life would have been very different. I would have probably just played out the rest of my career. I would have not invested in another thing. I would have just gone into like horde mode and just like, and there are guys who do that, and that's not a wrong approach, right? Thankfully, I didn't have I didn't have the quit in me, and I could draw on the lessons I learned from not quitting, continuing to fight. Like a door opens, go through that door, keep working. Right. An opportunity is going to come. Just be ready. And I went down to the office, and we had acquired all these legal boxes in the purchase of the assets in the company. And I called one of the clients that was doing $2.4 million with the old ownership. And I told them who I was. I told them I'd rebuilt the machine, new servo motor, new pasteurizers, new everything, new facility. They flew out 3 executives to Chicago. They spent, half a week with me. And at the end of that meeting, we got our first $1 million contract, and literally saved the entire business. It was nuts. And, we've gone on to really be the world leader in pre-filled communion solutions, which is what we do. And we sell communion cups all over the world that are sanitary and safe for churches. And then March this year, a pandemic hit, and, that space went from, 90-80% of churches doing it traditionally, not sanitized, and now everybody needs to do communion with a pre-filled or a sanitized solution. And that business that all the way 11-12 years ago I almost folded and bankrupted and say I can't do this anymore, it's so hard, it's like we can't sell anything, is absolutely exploded. And we're about to get a new facility. We're getting another machine. We're in full growth mode. And that's the entrepreneurial journey, right? You keep fighting, you keep swinging. It's really about pivot. You got to be able to pivot to that next opportunity. And I'm just thankful that I got a great team. We don't quit. We work hard. Again, I know I'm a worker. Like, I'm a grinder. I keep swinging. I don't stop swinging until I achieve whatever we're trying to do. And I'm thankful that we have some grinders and some workers on our team. And that's been really key to our success.
You often talk about, and congratulations, because it's just great to hear and see, these hundreds of thousands of hours that you've invested into a business like this, really pay the dividends that are deserved. And so it's wonderful to hear the success of that business, but that's just, one of a dozen to 2 dozen businesses that you have interest in today. And you talk about team often. I often hear you talk about the success is really in the team. This team I have, this team I'm on, this team I work with, the blessing of the team. What are some of the basic characteristics you look for in the folks that you put on your teams?
Yeah, I think one, I mean, I truly, and I know you've heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, go with a team, right? And everything we're doing, anything that I'm putting my time and energy, I'm trying to go far, right? I'm trying to get to the top of the mountain. I'm not just trying to go quickly a quarter of the way or half the way. I'm trying to all the way to the finish line, pass it, and keep pressing. So I'm trying to be surrounded by a team of really brilliant people that know what they're doing and continue to grow that team to bring in expertise that allows you to do more, that allows you to just be more fine-tuned and execute on a greater level, right? So I think early on in my career, it was just finding like people you could trust, right? Just like there's a lot of vultures out there, especially in the athlete sports space. So it's like you just got to find someone you can trust, and then you try to keep the team small. Now where I'm at is, we have a great kind of network. We're kind of building an office structure around what we're doing, where we have like specialized. We just brought on an incredible CFO, just who can really dial in everything across all the companies in the portfolio, and just to make sure that the models behind everything is really dialed in. So now bringing in someone who's like specialized, right? It's just like we want to be targeted. We want to really have the attention to detail and everything really locked in. And then people who are willing to grind, right? It's like even with all of that, and there's a lot of brilliant people, like million times smarter than I am, who start companies that fail every day. Like some of the world's smartest people start things and they don't work out. Open restaurants, start new technology companies, and they fail, right? It's hard for everybody, right? So
Yes.
So people who are willing just to work, to grind, who have perseverance, right? There's like I hired an amazing guy early in my manufacturing business, and literally like 2 weeks in, he came to me just broken. It was just like, I can't do this. It's hard, right? It's just like, we're not selling any product. It's the machine's leaking, I thought, he thought he was just sign up for just a cushy, nice, hey, everybody's getting paid and just come into the office, sign some checks, and like, no, like we're trying to grow a business, and you need resources, and you're going to be stretched thin. It's just like, it's the nature of the beast. So people who have perseverance, strong character, right? Like, again, like it's when everything is good, it's easy. But when it gets hard, when things aren't going according to plan, you want somebody with really positive, strong character that doesn't all of a sudden change to somebody else. Like, yeah, even in the darkest times, we held hands and we hugged each other and we said, hey, we're going to be all right, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, where we're on any team, right? You talk about a sports team. When everybody's winning, it's good. When you have a losing season and you all of a sudden guys are calling out other guys and saying it's this fault or it's a coach, is like it's during those hard seasons where you find out the real character of the people on your team, right? What are they about? And you've seen that across all the sports, where teams that are winning all of a sudden struggle, and it just all of a sudden is all of the dirty laundry starts coming out. Just, you want someone that even when it's tough times, character shines, right? Tough times, you can still sit down and talk level-headed. What's wrong? What did I do? All right, I'm sorry. All right, what did you do? Okay, I understand, right? And that goes such a long way into getting to the other side together, right? Like, we're trying to get to the other side together, right? So, and I promise you're going to have to work through some things, and so just character. I love people who have their own vision. I don't, especially now, like, I don't want every idea to come from me, right? Some days I just want to show up, and I want I want you to just blow my mind with the most
Yeah.
amazing idea. Like,
Yes.
it's just like, wow, you guys have been putting some thought around this. And like, you want people who have their own ability to create and vision and build. And just that allows the engine and the growth to happen without you. And earlier on, I literally, it's just like, if it wasn't me thinking through it, it was like nobody else was. It was everybody waiting for me to tell them what to do. That is just not how you want to build your team. So today it's just like, you want people who come in and like, specifically at our manufacturing business, we hired this new engineer who literally rebuilt a whole component of the machine with parts that were already there. We walked in one day and he had a piece of the operation that we had somebody manually running. He completely technically built a mechanism to like handle that whole thing. Nobody asked him to do it. He just did it on his own. Like, you want people who just can see an issue, see gaps on their own, and come up with solutions, right? Just so valuable.
Yeah, and I love that. So I mean, I heard a number of different things, but I heard trust. I heard, skill set, bringing forth a strong skill set and expertise, where you might be a foot wide, a mile deep, mile high to have an impact on the team. I heard perseverance. I heard character. And I love that you always talk about grind. You always talk about the hard work. There's no way to be successful without the hard work. I really appreciate that you constantly reinforce that. There's really no shortcut to getting to your vision. You've recently launched a labor of love, which, I'm super excited about and seeing it unfold over time. But you've launched Chicago's premier philanthropic center, Impact House. Tell our listeners about that and how they could be a part of the impact that organization is making, not just in Chicago, but in the greater Illinois Midwest communities.
Yeah, so it's truly has been a labor of love. 2015, I launched a product called Work Vault. It was going to be kind of my vision of future of work, and that's kind of really where it all began. It was the notion of, giving people a space where they could come to, and regardless of where they were in their entrepreneurial journey, they could find a place in our facility to work. We bought this massive building in Chicago. We were going to, in this ecosystem, we have 6 profiles of who would kind of work in our space: business people, technology people, artists, entertainers, people that we call them the lifestyle category, designers, people that are in fashion and such, and then impact. And then as we went along and started to have real conversations with different groups, the impact group really out as a group that needed their own space, right? So we have now an Impact House, which is a part of this ecosystem. It's 40,000 square feet. It houses the city's top impact investors, the givers. So if you're a funder, you're funding meaningful work, or you're looking to fund or support meaningful work in a broad spectrum of whatever it could be, education, right? It could be right now, we talk about COVID-19 pandemic, Impact House, the members, the groups raised over $50 million to solve and tackle real issues across the city and in the state just because of COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
You talk about health, mental health. So the impact space, there's so many people doing great things, but none of that data, none of that information. Like, how do you find out who's really doing a great job in mental health and how you can support them, right? And so the goal was to kind of galvanize the sector, create one place where anyone can, if you're a funder in the space, you can become a resident there. You can make it your office. We have 4 lounges, 15 conference rooms, phone booths. You can just utilize it as your office for whatever you need. Any of the athletes in the city that have foundations can use it as their space for work, for their team, for their impact, for their vision of giving. And then if you're just looking to learn and explore, again, we want to be a resource on the data side in like, who are the top groups solving food and shelter in the city, and what are they doing? How are they doing it? And how can just a regular person like me help, right? And we want to provide those resources across all of the different impact sectors to really connect and be a bridge to the people who want to help. Because so often I hear all the time, I want to help, I just don't know how. I don't know how, where do I start? Who do I go to, right?
Yes. Yeah, and you know, and I love that. And as Samantha and I moved, you know, to the Detroit area in 2017, you know, you and I have had conversations where I see that model just being such an impact and positive influence on a community in a marketplace like Detroit and greater Detroit and the neighboring areas. Do you see that model expanding across the U.S.?
Yeah, that we've had a number of conversations about doing, you know, specifically just impact houses in other cities. And specifically, I think the beauty of what we would do in an expansion is like it's about mind share, right? What Detroit's doing to solve issue A, like Chicago can learn from, right? What Chicago's doing to solve issue B, Detroit can learn from. And like, can we set up a really robust network for the impact communities to learn from each other and how they're solving these issues that are going on in all of our communities, right? If it's, you know, it might be a level 1 issue in Chicago, and that level 1 issue in Chicago might only be a level 3 or 4 issue in Detroit. Well, what did Detroit do, or what did New York do, or what did these like? Let's learn from each other. And the beauty is the impact space. Again, I'm sure it's the same in Detroit. Like, they know each other, right? The people who are giving and supporting, like, they're close. They know each other. So it's just a matter of time. It's gonna happen, I think, in these cities as time continues. But it's without a doubt, it's definitely a model that can be easily replicated and has a lot of opportunity to change each of these communities.
You know, I've heard you often reference the significance of your physical, mental, and emotional health having such an impact in what you've been able to do in sports, business, and just your life in general. Share with our listeners one of your most recent ventures, which is become so popular and the talk of the town in Chicago, Restore.
Yeah, so I launched a gym brand here in Chicago, Health and Wellness. It's been amazing since that. Sports and health has been such an important part of my life through my career in the NFL. And it all started with really just the notion of helping people transform their bodies and their minds. And I didn't even realize personally how far I had fallen off the road, right? Like, I'd been working, grinding, building these companies. I looked up, I was over 350 pounds, right? And I felt the same, you know, until I look back at pictures now. I was like, you know, I did not look the same, but internally, I saw myself through the same lens, right? And now having launched this gym, I said, like, how can I help somebody become the best version of themselves physically and mentally if I can't first do that to myself? So 22 weeks ago, I started putting in that work. You know, we started our first challenges. I've lost almost 80 pounds. And I feel like I'm almost ready to get back on the field, really, you know?
You look it.
I might be ready to get back and put in that work.
We'll take it.
And it's been transformative to have, you know, this incredible community of people who are all on their own journey of physical transformation, and which most people will say, yeah, you know, I want to like lose 30, 40, 50 pounds. I want to get back in shape. But the true transformation when transforming your body starts here, right? Everyone in the community, it's just like, as you start to like do the workouts and stay on the nutrition and push, it's just like, you know what? It's like, I'm mentally getting tougher. I'm holding, like, it's just, you begin to really understand that it's about discipline. It's about setting a goal for yourself and holding yourself internally accountable. And those are all really tough things to do mentally. And it's just great to see people mentally getting tougher and it's been a blessing. The physical gym, to have a location has been great, and to have a brand that we're launching has been great. But what's most exciting is seeing people join at one place, and then just to watch them advance and get stronger, get more focused, get more dedicated, get results. You watch somebody celebrating their results. So like, a big part of the week for me is pull-up week, our pulls, because a lot of people can't do a pull-up, so for me, one of the most exciting parts of the week is just that progress of watching people do 5 pull-ups with a band, do a pull-up with me assisting them. And then today we had 3 people do pull-ups for the first time by themselves, right? Like the celebration and the joy, the excitement, being able to pull yourself up, something that almost a lot of people are saying, oh, I'll never be able to do a pull-up, right? Well, you can. We got to work at it, And then step 1 is, I don't want you to ever say I'll never. I don't want you to ever say I can't. Just like take that out of your vocab. Anything you want to do, if you're willing to work for it, you can do it, right?
Yes.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, I love it. And so a lot of our listeners are student athletes. What are one or two pieces of advice that you would share with young student athletes today as they consider the next chapter in their life after school and possibly sports?
Well, I think the first thing I would say to student athletes in the world that we're in today is, that it's going to be okay, right? Like, I know a lot of these students, their worlds have been turned upside down as of over the last few months, where things that they were expecting to happen that were a part of their plan, right? It's just all of a sudden turned upside down. You're just like, you don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes it could feel a little daunting, like, your life is just going to be, and it's not. Like, your life is going to be okay. Not only that, this group of student athletes will probably be some of the greatest achievers that we've ever seen, just because they've been through the test, right? They've been thrown curveballs and like just been thrown into just the biggest challenges, and you're going to survive. You're going to overcome it, right? And take these lessons that you've learned now today and let them fuel you, let them strengthen you for like the next challenge and the next thing. And I would say to our students, like, some of the things that we just covered is like, number 1, have a plan, right? Like, what is, as of today, even with everything going on in the world, like, what is your plan for you? Like, big picture, what is that thing? I want you to just take some time, write it down. And you can't understate that enough, writing down your vision and your plan and looking at it like, I want to be XYZ. I want to do XYZ. I want to achieve XYZ. Take the time to really think through it, right? There's nothing worse than when you ask somebody like, hey, what do you want to do? And they don't know. Like, if you don't know what you want to do, guess what you're going to end up doing? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So take the time and be really deliberate about and it doesn't have to be just one thing. Like, you can write down, I want to do all of these things, and then start working towards whatever one feels natural for you. The other thing is just, exactly that, just kind of do multiple things, exercise multiple muscles, right? And along the way, you're going to find an experience and find something that you genuinely love, that it doesn't feel like work. Like, you doing that thing just like brings you joy and happiness. And like, when you get in that lane and you find that sweet spot, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to continue to put your time, your energy, your resources, and your gift, right? And that's, I think, the final thing to our young men and women is, we're often taught that we only have one gift, right? We're often taught that, oh, you're good at this, you could just do that, right? And I disagree. I think we're all multi-layered. You have multiple gifts, multiple strengths, multiple abilities. Naturally, there are gifts that you're just naturally strong at, like, you're just good at. There's 1 or 2 gifts that you wake up and you can do that with your eyes closed. But you also have 3, 4, 5 other gifts that just need a little bit of polishing. They
Yes.
need a little bit of work. If you can put some additional work into those other gifts that you have, it's just gonna make you more valuable. And at such a young age, the more valuable you can create of yourself as an asset, like you're gonna position yourself for just unparalleled success in the future. A simple thing, and I know it's not sexy, but a simple thing is just learn another language, right? Learn Spanish, right? I was on a board where 20, where all of our nurses that spoke Spanish made 25% more. They made 25% more than everybody else, right? So like just a simple thing, if you could just learn some basics of something like Spanish, it's a simple gift, simple thing you can put in your toolkit. But take some time to think through like, hey, these are my like gifts that I'm locked in, and then here are some other gifts that I know I can do. And take them seriously. Just level them up a little bit, especially in a time like now. They will bring value to you in the future, right? And then just be relentless. Go get it. Show no mercy.
Yeah, I love that. And so we can't wrap up without touching on legacy for a second. I have heard you so many times talk about how significant your legacy is to you, the people you surround yourself with, the decisions you've made throughout your life. Share with our listeners why having a vision for your legacy is so important to you.
When I think through like the journey, it's like, what is it all for, right? All of the work, all the work that you're doing, Manny, all the work that I'm putting in every day, like, what is it all for? What is the purpose of the grind, of the work, of the fight? And when you start to really think of the why, a part of that is about passing it on, right? And it's just not about money, it's about the information. It's really like the most valuable thing that we can pass on, you and I, all of us, is our knowledge, right? The most valuable thing you can pass on is the things that we've learned that have made us better. And to pass that on, to Ava, to Atlas, to our family members, the people we love, and to position that and put them in a position where they can not redo the things that we've gone through or relive the roads that we've gone on, but rather now they're building the next portion of the road. They're taking the next portion of the road. So the legacy component to me is so important, because it's just, how do you make sure that where I stopped my journey, where I stopped building, and December last year, I officially said, you know what, I'm done building. Like, I'm done startups and entrepreneurial. Like, I'm just done, and I hit a realization where I just realized, like, you know what, it's time for me just to just enjoy the things that I have built. And it's just time for me to start really preparing for when I'm going to hand it off to like the next, young man or young woman that's going to kind of be a part of the building what's next. And that's what legacy is about, positioning that generation to pick up where you and I leave off. It's about allowing them not just the resources, but more so, if you give someone the resources but not the knowledge, they're not going to build. They're not going to be able to take. They're not going to be able to necessarily take it to that next level. So it's about giving them the knowledge that you've had, the lessons that you've learned, and why it's so valuable to cherish it. And then, hey, young bucks, go get it, and you and I will be on the porch, having a drink, watching them do their work, right?
Let's wrap up with something you haven't shared today that you're super amped up about still. Just another thing that you've not brought up yet today, but hey, this is another thing I'm just so amped up about and excited about and putting great energy and enthusiasm behind.
Oh, something that I'm excited about. So I've had a dog for a week. I got a dog. That is,
congrats.
My life upside down, but yeah, that's kind of what's new and exciting. I got a puppy. His name's Finn, a little French bulldog. Man, you talk about not doing extra work, that's going in the wrong direction, because a puppy is a whole lot of work.
Oh
But yeah,
man,
he's been a joy to have in the house.
congratulations, Izzy. Tell folks
Thank
where
you.
they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find us at, IIDONIJE on all the social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, for the work we're doing for Impact House, THEFBRK, thefbrk.com, FBRK standing for fabric, bringing the community together. And just if you want to support, if you want to learn more, just reach out. We'd love to connect.
Izzy, it's always a huge pleasure, man. Super thankful for our relationship. It's been a blessing, and we love learning from watching you create so much success and impact on the communities that you're a part of. And so thank you again for the hour that you shared with us today. God bless, brother.
All right. Appreciate you. Love you, man. See you later.
Love you too, man.
For more insights from top performers in sports and business, be sure to subscribe to Vision, Hustle, Grit, and Gratitude wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at Vision, Hustle, Grit, and Gratitude. Until next time, keep doing great things.